Welcome to Cinema Chop Shop. Watch, chop, retrofit.
With everything going on in the world today, it's easy to lose hope, but Oasis.
All right.
And haters gonna hate, but they sounded amazing at the Carter show, and I for one have hope.
How long do you think that they can get along as brothers?
I don't know. They sang "Acquiesce" together, and it sounded like they meant it.
Speaking,
Shawn thinks that was an elaborate joke, but no, I really am an Oasis fanboy. I have an unabashed love for.
That's
Oasis.
fine.
I can see by the light in your eyes.
Yeah, you're really giddy.
I am.
But this isn't a fanboy podcast. No, it's cinema.
It is though, kind of.
Well, it is kind of, but it's more. It's about film because this is Cinema Chop Shop. It's a movie podcast. We talk about movies and such. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host Shawn. I'm joined by my series regulars Joey Poole.
Hello.
And Travis Cito.
Hello.
We have a special guest tonight. It is my lovely wife Allie.
Hello.
It's been a while since we've seen you.
It is.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
And Your Honor, I will be on my best behavior as there are women present.
This
whatever.
show needs a woman's touch.
Every once in a while.
I agree.
I hear quite
Wholeheartedly
frequently
agree.
that the male gaze is quite strong in this podcast, so I expect Allie to set us back on course and add a feminine touch
Gladly.
to the proceedings. This week's episode, we're doing Weird Disney, also known as Fucked Up Disney.
Yes.
We're talking about this period of time in the late 70s and early 80s where Disney seemed to lose its way, and there are several mitigating circumstances to cause that.
Did it lose its way, or is it just exploring something new?
It was a phase it had to go through.
Yeah, it's kind of like the teen phase where it
They were
picked up
experimenting in college.
Yeah, it's picking up a really bad habit that doesn't age well. It all started in the mid-'70s when George Lucas was pitching Star Wars to various studios. He pitched it to Disney and told them, this is a Disney movie. That was the pitch, that Star Wars is a Disney flick. He said that it'll cost $10 million to make, and we'll do $16 million in profit, and we'll make the rest back in toy sales. Of course, as we all know, they said no. 20th Century Fox picked up on it. It did $400 million at the box office and made even more than that back in toys and merchandise
Just
sales.
a little bit more.
So
Was it $10 million? Actually, to make?
I think it cost more than $10 million to
Yeah.
make, but the point being, Disney missed out on a golden opportunity that would have changed the course of history altogether, and of course, Disney eventually did get their Star Wars.
Right.
A
It
little
would have
bit.
skipped over a whole bunch of history.
A little bit late. Joey, you wanted to say
No,
something?
I was going to say something. It came full circle because Disney owns it now, and they're squeezing every penny
Yeah,
they
it's-
can out of that
It's kind of like
franchise.
almost like a malicious squeezing now. You know, had they done it right the first time, we wouldn't be having this episode at all. In 1978, Ron Miller took over as president of Walt Disney Company, Disney
Who?
Pictures. Ron Miller, he's a former football player, and he was an actor in the 50s. And as it turns out, he was Walt Disney's son-in-law.
Oh, okay.
He's a Nepo baby.
Gotcha. Married into the Magic Kingdom.
And he recognized that Disney did need to acknowledge an aging audience and make some pivots to reflect that. He clashed with the bigwigs at Disney, and as a result, we've got this crazy mishmash of films that we're going to talk about today. But we will later see that deeper into Disney's history, the idea of producing films for an older audience isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just doesn't need to carry that Disney sticker.
I can just see this new executive just busting rails on the desk, getting all jacked out, having crazy ideas. He's like, it's a black hole! And all the
Wait till you hear what's on the other side of it, man.
and the 12 old men or whatever are just over there cringing and
Harumph.
rubbing their fingers. Yeah.
I think that what we'll discover through today's episode is that while some of these movies that we're going to talk about weren't necessarily bad per se, it's when you view it through the Disney lens, when you have the Disney expectations of presenting it to an all-ages audience, that's when things kind of go sideways in a lot of these movies. Travis, you had mentioned to me during the week that we should talk about those subsequent studios. You know, when Disney started doing this adventure of getting away from animated features and some of these wholesome family entertainment type things. They had the Buena Vista Film
Buena Vista
District.
International, yeah.
So that was one. And then after all of these box office bombs is when they finally got the idea, we don't need to call it Disney. Let's call it Touchstone Pictures. And also, in '89, there was Hollywood Pictures.
Yeah, and they weren't actual physical studios. They were just a label that they put on
Right.
the movies so that they could distance themselves from the controversial content.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, even just this week, watching the movies to prepare for this episode, my lovely wife, Michelle, would be walking through, and she'd see, like, something that was not of the norm for a Disney movie. She's like, that's not Disney.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Touchstone Pictures is what gave us the Demi Moore movie Striptease. So
she's a Disney princess.
she's a Disney princess.
Technically,
Yes. She's somebody's princess.
And
But
I think that I've learned through part of this that I think I like Weird Disney because I believe Return to Oz and Fox and the Hound are on this list. Both,
yeah,
which
I
enjoy.
think Fox and the Hound qualifies because even though it was an animated feature, it did go dark.
Yes.
And it did go a little adult. So did The Black Cauldron. The Black Cauldron was
Yeah.
a crazy movie.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned Return to Oz. Some of the Travis, I think you had mentioned Flight of the Navigator as
Right.
being one that we could possibly
it's kind
talk
of
about.
on the cusp.
It is, and it's because you have a kid who disappears for several years. His family ages up, and he returns. So that kind of is a strange.
Well, it's also
thing.
during this era where people are starting to worry about child abductions and letting your kids just roam freely.
Those milk cartons, man.
Exactly, milk carton kids. Another thing that we noticed is that in several of the movies that we're going to talk about, there's a underwriting current of dabbling in the occult.
Yeah.
Which is something that was kind of a no-no prior to this era.
Yeah, and I think my guess at least was that I think they were kind of riding that satanic panic a little bit.
Even if they were well aware that the panic was unfounded, it's still dollars.
Yeah.
It's still ticket sales.
Yeah, ultimately that's what Disney was after. They were after those dollars, and as we're going to see today, several of these movies didn't do so good. Without further ado, we're going to talk about our feature segment. This one I think has the most mystique attached to it. You hear people talk about the strange, misguided choices Disney made, and 1980s The Watcher in the Woods is usually top of the list. It's a ghost story, I think it's fair to say.
It's supposed to be scary.
It's kind of a horror movie. When you're a kid, it's kind of scary.
Well, the cinematography...
It's also kind of sci-fi.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get to
Especially
that.
when you found out the real underpinnings of the supernatural element. Yeah.
Right.
The
This is kind of, for me, I would describe it as like a gateway horror.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
kind of horror that you would introduce your, 12-year-old to, who
Yeah.
wants to watch
Scary movies.
So, Watcher in the Woods, 1980, directed by John Huff, starring Betty Davis, the big name on it.
Yeah.
Lynn Holly Johnson, Benedict Taylor, Kyle Richards, which is a female. She was in Little House on the Prairie. She was also the character Lindsay in all the Halloween films.
And she's the younger sister, right?
She's the younger sister. And David McCallum, who kind of carried a little bit of cachet as well. An American family move into a British country house only to encounter malevolent spirits. The ghost of the owner's daughter, long missing, torments the family's young girl.
Yeah. You mentioned Betty Davis. She had been in the film industry for 50 years at this point. When this movie premiered, she was also celebrating her 50th anniversary in Hollywood. And it's one of her last feature films. She is quite old in this, but that also only adds to the ominous nature of her characters. Like, who's that creepy old lady?
Yeah. And you mentioned the ominous nature. Joey, I think you commented on your Letterboxd review. I mean, you kind of have to remind yourself throughout this movie that this isn't a proper horror film, but it sure has a lot of the earmarks, especially in terms of atmosphere.
The cinematography and the score. The score is very intense and suspenseful.
Yeah, there are times when you can delude yourself into thinking that you're watching a real horror movie here.
Right.
And that lasts for most of the movie. It kind of dissipates a little bit with the ending.
Yeah.
It's kind of...
The ending is one
It
of the
doesn't ruin
craziest
the
parts
movie
of this
for
movie.
me, but it does. There apparently there were several
4,
alternate
yeah.
endings,
Oh.
and
Yes, I was
had
going
a
to say.
different interpretation of the ending than Todd did.
Oh, really?
No, he's not here today, but he had watched this in preparation for the episode. So when we get there, remind me of that, and I'll talk about it.
Okay.
Well, speaking of the ending, just in generalities, the film was yanked from theaters 10 days after its release to have the ending retooled, which is why, as you mentioned, there are about 4 different endings floating around on various copies of VHS tapes and laser discs and that sort of thing. And this is a movie that Disney tried to sweep under the rug. This is one they did not want people to know about or see. They wanted to just forget that it ever existed. Much like the Black Cauldron, it was out of print, and it was one that you had to acquire through nefarious means, like going to a comic convention or a sci-fi con, and get a bootleg copy of the film.
I think that's a recurring theme with most of we're
Yeah.
talking about
Well,
today.
Again, this is Weird Disney we're talking about. So yeah, Joe, you mentioned the setup. I mean, it does have all of those cool horror movie motifs. The dialogue was very stiff. The acting was not that great.
Acting's not that great. The house that they use is perfect for the movie. It's
Yeah,
an old
it's
Victorian
excellent.
manor, and it was used previously in, I believe it was a TV series called The Haunting.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and that definitely makes sense. These are some of my raw notes from watching the movie. Should we patch the window? Nah.
Yeah, that bothered me so much.
The window is broken in the oldest daughter's room early in the film, but it creates that triangular shape, which of course that plays a role later in the movie. But the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, why haven't they patched that window? I know it's not. It's in England, so it's not like mosquito infested like it is down south, but
But it's
still.
cold and drafty and wet.
They seemed pretty blasé about the breaking of the window too. Like,
Yeah.
oh well,
And if it broke enough to cut her finger,
Yes,
Yeah.
then
right.
that's a
Yeah.
problem. But it was also very inconsistent because there were several scenes it was in the background and it was no longer broken.
Ooh,
but
good eye.
you
I
know,
can see that.
Here's another comment. I said, not so much horror vibes, but more like Brady Bunch Goes to Hawaii vibes.
Yeah, yeah.
There are times when this is legitimately creepy. Like there's those little like the POV shots when like when they're driving up and like the Watcher in the woods. It's watching them and then you realize that we're the Watcher in the woods now, and he scurries through the woods or whatever. And that to me that was like, ooh, this is going to be good. And like I said, it kind of dissipates a little bit as the movie goes along, but.
At times like those, it feels like it's an older film than a 1980 film. It kind of reminds me of like the Hammer horror of the early 70s almost.
So I have a question about the younger, like the 30 years ago, the younger versions of the characters are trying to form a secret society or create a secret society, and
I
they
think-
don't really define what their secret society is about.
And I think that might speak to what you were talking about with this satanic panicky type stuff. I know that we're a little early on it, but they're dabbling in the occult a bit, but not overtly to where parents are going to get upset and grab their kids and leave the movie theater. So I think there's a lot of suggestion in the film that was probably throttled back.
And what was
by the
their
studio.
What was their goal with the ceremony?
I think they're just dumb kids, and dude was full of himself.
Uh-huh.
I think he was just trying to prove that they could get somebody to do something.
Hazing.
Right? Yeah, that's what it seemed like to me. It's like, this isn't really an occult society. This isn't really a secret society. He's just kind of, I shouldn't say it because he's a kid, but he's kind of waving his dick around.
Like a prank, sort of.
Yeah.
more or
Yeah,
less,
it's like I need you to prove something to me because I'm special and important.
Also, that rundown abandoned chapel in the woods. By the time 1980 rolled around, there would have been way more heroin addicts in there.
Something else I learned from this movie: all horses are bad.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all bad.
But
in
they're
this film.
not.
But they are in this movie. They're definitely evil.
They were not evil. They got spooked by what was in the woods. They were innocent.
They felt like something
Victims.
was watching them.
Travis, I doubt this is in your fun facts. The woman who played the mother in the film, she was in a really weird movie called Baby Doll
No.
with Carl Malden.
Okay.
in which Baby Doll is kept in a cage by Carl Malden, and it's his young squeeze, I guess you could call her.
In a cage.
Yeah, for part of the movie.
Call that human slavery.
Well, that's Baby Doll. Baby Doll. You should look it up. It's an interesting, strange movie starring the beloved Carl Malden.
Yes.
I also don't really know why this was called Watcher in the Woods. We get a gaze from the woods, but there's nothing actually in the woods that's watching.
Well,
It's inside the little girl, and it's I don't know. It just seemed
I felt like
incongruous
the
to me.
entity only possessed the little girl there at the end. I thought that prior to that, the other dimensional being was in the woods in the area, just kind of stuck,
kind of floating.
Yeah.
Till it
That's
found
the
a
impression
vessel.
that I got. Yeah. But we're getting ahead of ourselves with that a little bit.
That's fine if you want to jump into it. One note I did want to get across about the production: the film only made $5 million against a $9 million budget.
Yeah, it was a flop and a critical failure.
But there is one modern footnote. The actress that I mentioned earlier, Kyle Richards, she is now known more popularly today by the masses as being a cast member for 10 years of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Oh, wow.
So be sure to hashtag this episode Real Housewives of Beverly Hills so the kids will give us a listen.
There you go. We've only got a 52% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is about right. The consensus is that it boasts plenty of spooky atmosphere and a typically strong performance from Bette Davis, but it builds to a conclusion so dissatisfying that it undermines all that came before it. And that was my feeling too. It was like, all right, this looks like it's going somewhere, and then they wrap everything up real quick, and it's just like, what the fuck?
So let's talk about this ending. There were 4 versions of it, I think, filmed,
yeah.
and then they yanked one out of the theaters. Okay, so I watched the movie, and now this may be the fact that I only had one contact lens in when I was watching the film.
Yeah.
But when the girl, okay, so basically, let me make sure we're on the same page here. So during the
Spoiler alert.
supernatural, during the ceremony, she disappears from our reality, having swapped places with the entity that we'll call the Watcher in the Woods or
Yes.
whatever, who's this interdimensional being. And then there's an eclipse, which somehow magically creates a veil.
Which you should always look directly into,
Always.
as our great leader has taught
And
us.
so they recreate basically the thing that made her disappear, and she comes back. When I saw her on the screen, I was like, oh, okay, so she's an adult now. She's been aging the time that she's here. And Todd was like, no, dude, she was still like a 12-year-old.
She was a little bit older than 12. I think she was the same age as the older daughter.
Sister, yeah.
16.
And I don't think that she had aged 30 years.
No.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe I just couldn't see that. But then I started wondering, maybe there are a couple of different versions of it.
Yeah.
And we watched, maybe one of them she's aged up, but then reportedly we watched the same version.
Yeah.
So the
I guess I just read that wrong.
the ceremony, they try to redo the ceremony. This time it's a lunar eclipse, but that's fine. An eclipse is an eclipse is an eclipse, and it'll work anyway. And it brings her back, and then the little girl is now possessed by this otherworldly being, and she explains to the group and to us, the audience,
Which is good, because otherwise we have no
what's
fucking
going
idea
on
what happened.
is that during the initial ceremony, she switched places with this interdimensional being, and that being has been stuck here while original Karen, has been stuck in that other dimension.
The Phantom Zone.
And there has been no mention of other dimensions or anything like that up until this point. It's very jarring. It's like, wait, what are we watching?
Yeah.
But yeah, they did do several versions. Do you want me to? Because most
Oh,
of my
get
fun
into
facts
that, yeah.
are about that.
I'm dying to know what all it covers.
The original version ran 100 minutes. This was the short ending that didn't include the explanatory otherworld sequence, in quotations, which wasn't finished at the time of the film's initial release. After the original ending didn't work, the filmmakers recut it, adding the special effects sequence in which the viewer sees the other world. I did not see the other world.
No, I did not see the other one.
And the victim was trapped in. The ending still didn't fare well with the critics, so Vincent McEvedy was brought in as the second director. He had previously done Herbie Goes Bananas.
That sounds like a good match.
And director John Huff, original director, was unavailable to tweak the film and shoot an entirely new ending and opening credits sequence. The Anchor Bay DVD release was originally going to be a 2-disc set with both the famous original 100-minute cut and that the test audiences saw and the theatrical 84-minute cut. Unfortunately, Disney did not allow Anchor Bay to have the original cut and only let them use the 2 alternate endings which now appear on the DVD. This explains why director John Huff referred to the movie as being finally edited in the way he intended. The commentary was recorded before Anchor Bay had to drop the 2-disc deal, when it actually isn't. The alternate endings, however, do provide the majority of the missing footage from the 1981 preview, save some small scene changes. Huff explains that his ending is a combination of the 2 alternate endings and the film's current ending.
I think that this is a film which is not screaming for a director's cut.
Right? In the Anchor Bay DVD commentary, John Huff states that Bette Davis wanted to play both Mrs. Allywood in the present and 30 years ago. The crew shot scenes with her wearing makeup to appear younger.
Oh, honey.
But she was clearly older than the character the script called for. After the cast and crew saw the dailies...
Right?
After the cast and crew saw the dailies, Huff told Davis in private that the scenes just didn't work. No one would believe her as a woman in her 40s. To her credit, Davis looked at Huff in the eye and said, "You're goddamned right."
That sounds right. That tracks.
Bless.
John Keller's house previously portrayed Hill House in the original version of The Haunting from 1963, directed by Robert Wise, from the novel by Shirley Jackson. The real-life building is called Ellington Park Manor and is situated at, Eddington Park Manor, and is situated in Eddington Park in Warwickshire, England, UK.
Well, there you go.
So, I mentioned in the previous episode that this movie scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, but I had to be really young because I was born the year it was released.
Right.
So I couldn't have been more than like 3 or 4. So given that age, I think it's understandable that this seemed like a scary movie.
Absolutely. And again, let's put on that lens of what a family would expect to go see in a movie theater as a Disney film. I can see how this would be rather jarring for them. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of a great starting point for us in this weird Disney episode, because
you don't expect children to be in peril in a Disney film, and they weren't necessarily in peril.
Supernatural peril.
It was, to have these children in this place. Well,
up until this point, Bedknobs and Broomsticks was about as supernatural peril as you get.
I mean, I guess Snow White was fake dead for a while.
Yeah, but it's animation. It's easier to accept that because it's sanitized.
Fairy tale trappings.
Yeah.
Had this movie been made today, Tom Coley or whoever his name is would have been a pedophile, and they would have raped and murdered the girl, and all of the otherworldly entity would be them trying to cope and manage the reality of their crime.
I don't know if that would be today. That might have been 15 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe 20. But I think we're
Bryan Singer would have directed it.
Yeah. I'm glad that I've gone back and viewed it now again just to know what it was, because my memory of it was very...
larger than life, I'm sure.
See, I wish I hadn't done that with The Black Hole, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Because it really diminished what...
Oh, really? I can't not wait to get into that with you. Anyone have anything else to add about the Watcher in the Woods? Like, any improvements if we were to remake it today or anything like that? I mean, like you said, I think that it would have that pedophilic kind of overtone to it.
Hashtag squandered potential.
It would have been set in a pizza restaurant.
And I think
You mean Slice?
I think the effects, were good. Weren't there like that little blue light or something? That would have been a little better today. But I think that it did all right for what it had. But I don't know. I think that we would... I think if it was made today, we might get a richer life of some of the characters.
Yeah, and I
to
think
be a little more
that-
invested.
I think that there might have been some more. I think one improvement of the film, I think, would be to seed the earlier parts of the film with more of the lore of this ritual
Yeah.
and pepper it non-linearly, because it seemed like we had like all of this great setup and atmospheric of mystery of us wondering what's going on, and then it shifts to like, and here's what really happened.
There actually is a modern remake of this, and it was directed by Melissa Joan Hart.
Oh, really?
And I'm trying to remember who plays
Sabrina.
the Betty Davis role. It's somebody very famous. I'll have to look it up.
Okay, we can look at it during the break, and we'll come back to you. Seems like a good time as any to take a break, but not before we say, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves
some Kinder Bueno Vista.
Wow.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go.
And we're back.
Yes,
I was the only one who peed in the yard.
I did not.
You will all be regretting it later. No beer check-in today. I'm not sharing my beer with anybody.
I only brought 2, which is the precise amount of beers that I like to drink when I'm here.
I'm drinking a hop water. It's delicious.
Nice. Good job.
There's tequila waiting for me somewhere.
There you go. We're going to dive right in. We're going to hit some of our weird Disney picks that we individually wanted to discuss. And Joey, you were up.
Yes, I chose Dragon Slayer, which is one of the favorite movies I would be remiss not to note of friend of the podcast and sometimes guest Lee.
Oh, okay.
Lee swears that this is the best dragon ever put on film.
Okay.
Which I think might be an overstatement, but the dragon does look good. But
It's gotten praise for, like, George R.R. Martin said it was the best one in movies.
At the time, it was the best dragon.
It still looks damn good. You know, if you haven't picked up on it by the title and what we're talking about, Dragon Slayer, 1980, is directed by Matthew Robbins, who also did Batteries Not Included, and also one of my wife's favorite movies, which I have not actually seen, is The Legend of Billie Jean.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, have you not seen that?
I did-
Go
yeah,
watch it now.
I will. I'm
With
probably going to
Supergirl.
watch it tonight
Helen
because
Slater.
we were talking just before I came over here, and I said, "Oh, he also did Legend of Billie Jean. Don't you like that movie?" I've never seen it, and she's like, "You're going to watch it tonight."
Your
Yes,
thoughts
you are.
now.
So if you haven't picked up on it, Dragon Slayer is, as you might suspect, a high fantasy.
Sword and sorcery.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far into the plot here because it hits pretty much every high fantasy trope. It involves not evil, but a misguided king who who has made a pact with a dragon to feed it virgins, which always turn out to be female virgins, and there's plenty of dude virgins running around every.
Excellent point, Joey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's made a pact with this dragon to feed it virgins every solstice, and our hero, played by Peter McNichol, accompanied by the love of his life, we think, played by Caitlin Clark,
Yeah.
who really reinvented herself after this as a WNBA star.
Yeah.
I must say. She, interestingly enough, though, she plays for, and I know, Shawn, you noted this in your review, a boy for most of
Right.
the movie, and
At least the first act.
I didn't sniff it out until the big reveal, which happens underwater.
Yeah.
With some real Disney nudity. There is a brief glimpse of man-ass for a Disney
Yeah.
film as
Male
Peter
and
McNichol's
female
character
underwater
jumps in.
nudity.
Yeah.
That scene was cut from the movie for the Disney Channel. This movie came on the Disney Channel. They cut that scene and one other scene, which I cannot understand why.
Well, if I had to guess, it was probably the scene where the real princess, who, in an act of noble bravery, puts her name into the pot, and then she ends up. You think that our hero is going to save her because she's a princess and it's a Disney movie, but she gets eaten by the dragon, and there are several lingering shots of the gnawed off stump.
It's not that.
of her leg.
It's the scene where they initially get to the dragon's den, and he creates like an earthquake with the amulet and all the rocks come tumbling down. That scene they cut out inexplicably. Yes.
Why?
I don't know.
That seems much less gross than a
It
stump.
also completely
Yeah.
changes the continuity of the movie because immediately after that they think that the dragon is dead and they're all partying and stuff. So it wouldn't make any sense
At all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know why.
Like I said, I don't have a whole lot else to say about this movie except that it's a damn fine piece of its fantasy escapist fare. It's soaked in high fantasy tropes as it should be for something like this. It's appropriate and for young audiences. I think it's not
For the
too
most part,
grisly, but it is kind of adult, and it works for me as a kids movie and just as a fantasy film too.
You mentioned the dragon, the special effects. Phil Tippett, ILM.
He developed that stop motion technique, called it go motion, while he was working on Empire Strikes Back, and then brought it over to this movie and ended up winning the Academy Award for special effects.
For Dragon Slayer?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that.
One of the times he won that.
The dragon effects are really good.
The
It's so
baby dragons are cool too.
baby dragons are so likable. I guess you kind of feel bad for them that they're having to be killed. Spoilers. But the dragon itself, the reptilian nature of it, I think that had never been properly done on film before.
They got the movements, the gestural movements down
Yeah.
really well for that. I wanted to talk about Peter McNichol. As
He likes a fresh bowl.
Yeah, as the choice for this lead was
Ally McBeal, Peter McNichol.
Yes. So we'll talk about that. At the time in 1980, was he considered like a hot new item? Was he going to be the next Harrison Ford, whatever? Because as we know, he would go on to some pretty diminutive roles. The role you're talking about in Ally McBeal as the smarmy lawyer guy who always likes a fresh bowl to the point that he has a remote control
Flusher.
flushes the
Yep.
toilet. And then he was also the henchman to Vigo in Ghostbusters 2.
that's
Also
right.
not like a leading man type role.
Yeah.
So I wonder what happened or what was the juice on Peter McNichol.
I don't
at the
know.
time.
He showed his ass in a Disney movie,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
kind of blackballed. The scene when he after the dragon is killed, I don't think that's too much of a spoiler.
It's in the title.
Yeah.
What?
After the dragon is killed, the king, they make this big, like, the photo op, basically, or no cameras, obviously, in this medieval setting, but, like, they make this sort of, like, press opportunity for the king to come in and, like, stick his sword into the dragon's, like, decaying heart, and they proclaim him the dragon slayer, and the look on his face is, like, this look of, like, self-loathing, like he
Yeah, he's ashamed.
realizes how ridiculous this whole setup
But
is.
he knows he
And
has to do
it's
it.
really good acting.
Yeah. I also liked the old man, the old assistant to the sorcerer who follows along because he feels it's his duty.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Hutch.
The I call him the sheriff, the right hand of the king. Should be noted, he was also the number 2 Hawkman in Flash Gordon.
Oh, okay.
The other thing about this movie is the heavy Christian symbolism, not just in like the priest character, but in the way that the elderly magician sacrifices himself, the whole sacrifice thing with the virgins and
resurrection.
whatnot. And that shows up again. I don't know if maybe it shows up in the movies you guys are going to explore. I haven't seen those as recently, but definitely the Black Hole has like,
And Tron as well.
a lot of that. So
It's not even subtle in this. They
no, not at
at
all.
the end
Yeah.
they're straight up like, and we'll never sacrifice again and all hail Jesus,
It's a good movie.
I liked it.
It's a great
I had
film.
never seen
I-
it before and I enjoyed it.
I-
I
it-
have another question. Why were they collecting I guess she makes a shield out of them.
yeah, the scales.
Initially,
Yeah.
she's collecting them to prove that the dragon exists
Yeah.
to the magician that she's trying to convince to come.
But then
So-
she makes a
fulfill
shield
it.
out of it.
So I guess, Joe, you mentioned it briefly, but I did put a fine point on it, which was this was Disney's first trans character in terms of the Disney princesses. So, hooray. Well, I don't know if it was the first.
Well, were they actually trans or were they just in disguise for protection? I
Well,
haven't
she
seen
was
it.
living her life as a man. a boy
She
because
is in
she had
disguise
to.
for protection, but there is kind of an interesting thing where she kind of has to come out. They wouldn't have had this language at the time, but she actually has to kind of come out as cisgender.
Yes.
And people are like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because her father did not want her to be in the lottery for sacrifice, so
Yeah.
she was living as a man. And so, yeah, situational trans, I guess you would call it.
Yeah. Full disclosure, we watched this movie. I was indulging in a chemical substance or two, and when the reveal happened that she's a girl, I was like, oh, whoa. And my wife is like, you didn't know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
Say it in a
then we
British
rewound
voice.
it, and I was
I
like,
picked up
yeah,
on
it's
it
pretty
right
obvious.
away.
Okay. Well, my mind was blown. So.
It's pretty good.
I think Travis just gave a little guilty look. Did you know?
No, I did.
You
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I realized.
All right. So, Dragon Slayer, yes. Awesome. I liked it a lot. Allie.
Hello. All right, so I am discussing today Something Wicked This Way Comes. So when this whole idea came up and Shawn started reading out the list, as soon as I heard this title, I'm like, wait a minute. It just like sparked this little nostalgia. And I think, to be a little indulgent, so as growing up in the 80s, you know, kind of latchkey kids, a lot of free range parenting. So my sister and I would get up on Saturday mornings. We're watching HBO, eating our little chicken patty sandwiches that we made ourselves. So I think that's where I saw this. So that was the same, you know, I remember that with Neverending Story and the Goonies, right? So they all came out in like the early 80s. I didn't necessarily have a big, strong, oh my God, I loved that movie, but it was just like, I remember seeing that movie. I want to see it again and kind of remember. I remember that's when I learned what a towhead was. That's a blonde boy, you know, and that was like that was the thing that I kept remembering. I'm like, let's look at this again.
I was just going to say, I have a similar experience with this one. I remember watching this one, like several of these movies, when my parents would go to these functions, like these adult functions at church. They would stick all the kids in a Sunday school room upstairs, and they would throw in a movie. And this is one of the ones that we saw at like a parents' Valentine banquet.
I can't remember if we talked about this on mic when we were discussing this. Yeah, but yeah, you're right, because they would see the Disney logo
And
they'd be
assume
like,
that it's fine.
fine, throw it on there, get rid of the kids. And
Hit play and walk away.
thank you.
So the title of this this movie, we'll talk about the history of that. It comes from Macbeth. It's a line that is said by the three witches, and it's by the pricking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes, and that does get quoted in the film. So this started out as a short story by Ray Bradbury that actually showed up in a comic book. A little comic book story. It was originally called The Black Ferris, and he always wanted it to be a film, but and back in 1955 is when he started working with Jack Clayton to try to make it into a film, and it just never kind of congealed. They were working with Kirk and Peter Douglas and their production company to try to make it happen, and that didn't come to fruition. Ended up being bought by Paramount. They gave it a $6 million budget and then never filmed it. And then they turned it out to be bought, and that's when Disney bought the property. So the plot of this is basically, it's a little old town. You're not really sure when it's set, somewhere between 1920 and the 1940s. There's not a clear delineation. Just old-timey little old town in Midwest
Mid-20th
America.
century.
So basically, this carnival comes to town. First, we're introduced to the characters and kind of see who's who in the town. Then the carnival rolls in the middle of the night and is suddenly just there. And what happens is the townspeople go there, and it's a dark carnival, and they seem to know the secret desires of everyone in the town, and they grant these wishes, but it's at a price. And these two 13-year-old boys, Will and Jim, they kind of discover what's going on, and then it's Mr. Dark, whose carnival it is, starts to come after them, right, to kind of put them in their place. So it is kind of a good versus evil, but I don't think it has those Christian overtones. So basically, they save themselves, right?
I think it's the
with
opposite.
their dad.
I think it's the opposite of Christian overtones. I think it's dabbling in that taboo.
And that's one of the things they say, that this is the story about the antagonist, about as opposed to the protagonist, right? Because Mr. Dark is really the kind of main character.
Played by Jonathan Pryce,
Yes.
who listeners would know more recently from Game of Thrones. He was the High Sparrow.
They thought about Christopher Lee and Peter O'Toole were originally wanted for the part, but they couldn't afford them. So they ended up with this unknown Jonathan Pryce, who did great. So this one has a 61 on Rotten Tomatoes. 61%, so it's a little bit higher than our big movie. Ultimately was made for $20 million. There's a lot of pressure from Disney to tame some of these things, so Jack Clayton, who was the director, ended up hiring Jack Mortimer, who was to do a secret rewrite. So he and Ray had a falling out over that. But even after that was rewritten, Disney then... It was supposed to come out in December of 82, but Disney said, no, we still don't like it. So they pulled it, and they spent 6 more months and another $4 million reshooting it. It's got some interesting special effects. Some of them are more successful than others. And basically, they go to the Hall of Mirrors, which I think is where they see their fantasies come to life, and then they get enacted. Right, and so the school teacher who's old, who used to be young and beautiful, she becomes young and beautiful again, but then she's blind. Right?
Gotcha.
The athlete football star who's the amputee, who always is talking of his glory days, he gets his arm and leg back, but he becomes a child.
It's a monkey
Right?
paw.
Yeah. So it's just this fascinating thing. It's like, careful what you wish for, and what are the consequences of these things. Jason
Which
Robards
itself is kind of just a metaphor for selling your soul to the devil.
Exactly. So that's like the overarching story. But the other thing is, it's also a story of like a man and a father and his son. Because Jason Robards, he's an older father, and he regrets that he can't play with his son the way others do. And his son, he gets opportunity. He's tempted by Mr. Dark to become young again, and basically his son comes in and says, I love you. Don't do this. And kind of his son saves him.
There's that
from
scene
that
where
fate.
they're trying to play football, and Jason Robards gives himself a hernia.
Yeah. So I
feel like I would relate to that character.
I think it's ultimately a sweet story about that, and it's it's not anything new or exciting, but I think it's a solid idea. I would have loved to have seen what it was if it was truer to Ray Bradbury's vision. There's supposedly in 2014 they were going to do a remake, but that's not come to fruition. But there were a couple of special effects that Disney took out, and one of them was an early CGI. When the train is coming into town with the carnival, they basically showed like trees morphing into the Ferris wheel, and they showed a spider web turning into like the carousel or something, and they completely cut that out. And then there was also a scene where Mr. Dark created a giant hand that came out from the sky to scoop up the boys when he's trying to find them. And
That's scary.
Yeah. So the Rotten Tomatoes consensus is true terror and typical Disney wholesomeness clash uncomfortably.
Yeah.
And there was...
That sounds kind of awesome, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other kind of silly, funny things is the two boys, one who's supposed to have dark hair and one's supposed to be blonde, and they read for the things, and the color of their hair was opposite of the character, so they dyed the blonde boy's hair dark, and they had to bleach the other kid's hair.
It's a real Butch Cassidy Sundance situation.
Very much so.
Yeah, I remember in my memory it's pretty dark, and I remember thinking that it was kind of like, I wouldn't have had the word edgy in my vocabulary, at 9 years old or whatever, but like I remember thinking that it was kind of like.
Couple of fun facts. Ray Bradbury first wrote Something Wicked This Way Comes as a screenplay in 1952 after watching Gene Kelly in Singin' in the Rain, which Bradbury thought was the greatest musical ever made. Bradbury showed Kelly the screenplay, and Kelly was so impressed that he wanted to make it as his next picture. When Kelly shopped the story around potential backers in 1958, he was unable to raise any money for the project. It was only after this failure that Bradbury rewrote the story as a novel, which incorporated some elements of his 1948 story, Black Ferris, and was published in 1962. Bradbury dedicated the novel to Gene Kelly. Also, Disney made many changes to the film, which writer, and you talked about some of this, writer Ray Bradbury and director Jack Clayton did not intend. Many extra special effects scenes were shot by a second unit director after original production wrapped, and other changes were made before its release. According to the Laserdisc commentary by Bradbury, much of the original intentions of the movie were destroyed. So it's a much different animal than they had originally intended.
Well, thank you for that. Travis.
Over to me for another walk down the Tron memory lane.
Tron-tastic.
Tron, I'm going to pick this because Tron is one of my many nicknames. Real quick, long story short, back when I was waiting tables, we would have, all the servers would have their own drink that they were supposed to keep track of, and you would write your name on your cup, and I would write different names, different variations of TR sounds. I can't think of a lot of them right now, but like, I don't know, Trapper John or something like that. And one of them was Tron that I wrote, and that one stuck. And so very few people out there still call me Tron.
I've known you for 20 years now,
Yeah.
and I don't think I knew that that's where the nickname came from.
Yeah.
Until just this moment.
But the movie came out in 1982. It was directed by Steven Lisberger, who also directed, speaking of animated movies, he directed a movie called The Animalympics. Has anybody seen Animalympics?
Yes, and I know the songs.
It's so great. It's a like Wild World of Sports movie with animals, anthropomorphic
Voiced by
animals.
Billy Crystal and Gilda Radner,
Yes.
among others.
Very, very vaguely remember this. And
Yeah.
then to see Shawn lean forward and
Yeah.
I want to hear some of the songs after we do the podcast.
And there's still, you can still find this on YouTube. It's out there. 74% on Rotten Tomatoes. When a talented computer engineer named Kevin Flynn, played by Jeff Bridges, finds out that Ed Dillinger, played by David Warner, an executive at his company, has been stealing his work, he tries to hack into the system. However, in doing so, he's transported into the digital world. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids meets Inner Space meets what? The Matrix.
The files are in the computer?
Yeah. So it's kind of cheesy. However, Flynn is transported into the digital world where he has to face off against Dillinger's computer likeness in a game of glow-in-the-dark highlight.
Yes.
Well, on motorcycles, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Sark and the imposing Master Control Program, who we'll call MCP from now on, aided by Tron, played by Bruce Boxleitner. Side note, my dad has a leather jacket that was a costume piece in a Bruce Boxleitner Western, and it has a hole in it and fake blood.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. That's the basic setup here. He gets trapped inside the video game. He becomes a freedom fighter for the oppressed program off the grid. So I think that one of the reasons that this movie is so nostalgic for me is I'm just such a big fan of linear perspective, and
It uses it.
it uses
Yeah.
a lot of
it.
linear perspective, lots of grids, lots of sharp angles, lots of fluorescence.
I never knew that about you, Travis.
Yeah, the software engineer turned arcade owner tries to hack into his former employer Encom's system using a program called Clue. His goal is to find proof that the senior executive Ed Dillinger stole his video game designs to rise to power. However, his efforts are thwarted by Encom's powerful artificial intelligence MCP, which deletes Clue and restricts internal access to the programs. Meanwhile, programmer Alan Bradley, and engineer Laura Baines notice the lockdown and confront Dillinger, who downplays the situation. He just plays it off. Secretly, Dillinger discovers that the MCP has evolved into a rogue intelligence, absorbing programs and threatening to expose Dillinger's past, his plagiarisms, unless he obeys its commands. So we've got some Skynet shit going on here right off the bat. We've got the AI question that is looming even now is becoming an issue. Laura and Alan join Flynn in a plan to break into Encom and activate Alan's security program, Tron, designed to counter the MCP. During the infiltration, Flynn is digitized into the computer world by an experimental laser and finds himself inside the MCP. Now, it's framed as an accident where he gets sucked into the computer, but they were preparing to do this. They were planning on doing this in the previous scene. They know that that's what this laser beam does. There, programs appear as human avatars of their users and are forced into gladiatorial games if they resist the regime. Flynn teams up with fellow programs Ram and Tron, escaping through a light cycle match. After becoming separated, Flynn discovers he can manipulate the system due to his identity as a user. And Ram ends up getting killed in one of the gladiatorial matches, and then he encourages Flynn as he dies to find Tron and free the system. With the help of Yori, a sympathetic program, Tron obtains vital instructions from Alan via an I.O. tower and rejoins Flynn. They hijack a solar sailor, but are attacked by Sark, the NPC's enforcer. And Sark is the program version of Dillinger. And so he's the secondary antagonist, but they're really the same person. Tron survives and later challenges Sark at the MCP's core when Flynn sacrifices himself by diving into the MCP's energy beam. Here we go with that Christian symbology. And they present that a lot throughout the film. People inside the program who believe that they're just in a computer program are considered like religious zealots and nut jobs.
And even the music backs it up, too, because it has a very uplifting kind of, almost like a hymn kind sound to it.
I was going to ask a question. I have never seen any of the Tron films, but I've listened to the Daft Punk soundtrack for the remake from 8 or 10 years ago a lot. What's the soundtrack in this one sound like? It's
very synthesizer heavy. It's not as good as the Daft Punk stuff that we get later. And I don't have the artist. It's probably like Tangerine Dream.
Good question. It might even be showing up on our synth soundtrack episode we're going to do.
So, in any case, this gives Flynn the opportunity to destroy the MCP and Sark, freeing the digital world from tyranny. Flynn is rematerialized in the real world, and he's like, whoa! And he looks around and he's real. Freeing the digital world from tyranny.
I bet the script says that. He reappears in the real world, and he's like, whoa.
Yeah. Whoa, I know Kung Fu.
And the system prints out proof of Dillinger's theft. With Dillinger disgraced, Flynn is made CEO of NCOM and is welcomed by Alan and Laura as the company's new leader.
So Wendy Carlos did the music
Interesting.
okay. With
where do we know Wendy Carlos
I don't
from?
know.
She's like an early proto techno electronica.
Interesting that it's a female
and there
soundtrack.
were
That's
two
cool.
additional music tracks performed by Journey.
Does it hold up? Not very well.
It's about to, though. It's going to get that 4K upgrade.
It's about to get a 4K upgrade, so we'll see how that looks. It's very interesting, though, because this movie is all special effects. Basically, that's the meat of this movie. And it was disqualified for consideration for the Academy Awards because at the time it was considered cheating to use computer graphics to do your special effects. Like I said, this is the Matrix before the Matrix.
Sure. And what always impressed me about the film is that if you take away and I would love to see the raw footage, if you take away all the color grading inside the computer world, everything was shot almost like a silent film quality. Like everyone had high contrast.
Oh yeah, well their facial features and their skin tones are all black and white when they're in the program. The only things that are in color are like the light cycles and the electrical components of their suits. Yeah, but imagine a movie being disqualified from special effects for using a computer.
It's like disqualifying a movie because it was streaming instead of inside a movie theater.
While the film was a commercial failure, the arcade video games based on it proved to be a tremendous hit and actually outgrossed the film.
Yep.
They have made one legacy sequel already that's been released called Tron Legacy. And then the third film in the series is coming out this year called Tron Ares.
Yes.
And it's starring Jared Leto.
Soundtrack by Trent Reznor and Atticus,
who are putting the name 9 Inch Nails on it, and this will be the first soundtrack that they've released.
Fully attributed to
Nine Inch Nails. Yeah. So we'll see. It could be a stinker. It could be awesome.
This whole time, I thought that your nickname, Tron, came from the fact that you loved this movie somehow, and now I'm seeing you in a totally different light.
Yeah. Now we know. Just pulling the curtain back just a little bit for the listeners.
Joey's mind is blown.
Whoa, man!
So that's Tron.
Thank you for that. I got one question for everybody. Y'all ready to monkey down with the Cygnus?
Yes.
The Cygnus. The
I
Cygnus.
was gonna try to do it, but I thought that I would
The Cygnus
throw my throat
being
out or
the
something.
spaceship in The Black Hole. Mm-hmm. We're talking about The Black Hole from 1979, directed by Gary Nelson, starring Maximilian Schell as the big bad guy.
The title of this movie is a fun Google search.
Oh, sure.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, you'll get on a list. Along with watching Leg Breakers.
Leg Breakers.
Maximilian Schell is the bad guy. He was also in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, so that's significant casting.
I missed that ride.
Joseph Bottoms, which is a funny name. Robert Forster, Anthony Perkins, Yvette Mimieux, Ernest Borgnine, and the voice acting of Roddy McDowall and Slim Pickens.
Yes.
Slim Pickens plays a robot which inexplicably
I will get
has
into
a
this.
Southern accent.
I will get into this.
He's Maters from Cars.
I will get into this. In the future, a spaceship dubbed the USS Palomino is on its way back to Earth when it discovers another ship that has been assumed missing, the USS Cygnus. Kate McRae, a scientist aboard the Palomino, learns that it's the same ship upon which her father had served as a crew member. When the Palomino's crew boards the Cygnus, they are met by Dr. Reinhardt and a bizarre, faceless army who plan to be the first people to ever explore a black hole. The Black Hole was Disney's most expensive production to date at the time. It cost $20 million to make. It was the first Disney film to carry a PG rating.
Yeah.
Who knew that neurotic androids wouldn't resonate with children? It did not do well in the theaters.
It was cool seeing a young Forrester.
Yeah.
That was neat. The bulk of the movie is pretty boring, though.
As a kid, I was bored by the movie.
Yeah.
As an adult, I saw it a little differently.
I had the inverse.
See, Joey had the inverse effect. So, obviously, this was Disney's answer to Star Wars. They wanted to capitalize on the space craze, and as a kid, I went into it expecting to see Star Wars, and I did not get it. I didn't enjoy it because it lacked a lot of the same soap opera kind of fantasy that you got with Star Wars. Instead, I found watching it as an adult, the aesthetic reflected more of a Star Trek kind of structure,
It does feel more Star Trek.
as well as a 2001 Space Odyssey. It's more straight-laced, and as a result, as a kid, I was bored with it right out of the gate. Now, Joey, I cannot wait to hear. Why did you have that inverse?
This movie, along with Madeleine L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time novel, were two of the most formative documents of my youth. I loved this movie when I was a kid. I had do you remember you'd have a little record player and storybook records?
I can go get it right now.
Yeah.
It's
I
in
had
the house.
Storybook record
Yeah.
of the Black Hole, and
Yep.
I wore the grooves off of that thing. I loved it. Didn't think about it a lot from about the time I was 10 years old until about 3 years ago maybe, when I, for whatever reason, watched it on streaming, and I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
It may be the biggest letdown
Wow.
of my adult life, because it's just it's not that it's not a good movie, but the fact that Slim Pickens does the voice for the robot makes no sense.
What robot builder thought it would be a good idea to assign Slim Pickens as the voice? It makes no sense at
No
all.
sense.
Yes, we get it.
And
He's a
then-
broken down robot, but he wasn't given that voice when he was created. Was that some kind of a joke?
Yeah. And then the fact that, I don't know if you've gotten into this yet, in the end of this movie, if memory serves, they go into the black hole.
Oh yeah, I'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a big letdown.
So
as
this
well.
was the big problem for the film, and we'll get there. All right, so a couple of things about the movie. The ship design is cool as fuck. The minute the lights come on, you're just like, wow, that looks really awesome. The special effects of the black hole, it's nothing but swirling dye in a vat of water that they've kind of projected onto the sky.
It works.
It works. It totally does. The design of the two droids, Bob and Vincent, are very cute, very R2-D2-ish. I get what they were going for there. The ominous Maximilian, which is funny because the Maximilian robot is also the name of the actor who plays the antagonist.
Was this before or after the original Battlestar Galactica?
It's congruent. And
because there's a lot of Cylon.
There is a lot of Cylon feel with the Maximilian. And I don't understand why the Maximilian, his main weapon of choice, are these little, like blender rotator kind of things, where everyone else has lasers. Speaking of lasers, we established in the film there are these sentry robots that are not human; they're androids, and they're security guards. And there's one security android that's like the big shot amongst them all because he's black, and the other ones are red. And they're in a shooting gallery of some kind. This is a very strange side quest kind of thing that happens in the movie. And he's showing off his prowess of shooting these targets, these light targets. And Vincent shows up, and he, proves himself as being the best shot. He, shows up this guy. And, of course, old Bob's a little nervous because this android's going to get pissed with him. Whatever. But later in the film, when they're rescuing Kate, everyone's shooting except for Vincent, who we've established as the greatest shot aboard the entire ship. I don't understand what was going on there. If this movie were remade today, Jermaine Clement would be the Dr. Reinhardt character, and I think that Taika Waititi should direct it. It would make for a much better film. There are some gaffes in the movie. A lot of times we are shown that there is anti-gravity in various sequences. However, we have other shots where they're looking in domiciles where people have personal effects that are not tethered to surfaces. So therefore, why aren't these things floating around the ship and then dropping when they reestablish gravity? Also, when things go sideways on the Cygnus and the glass windows get broken or whatever, people are running around breathing air when clearly they're out in the vacuum of space. Makes no sense at all. The entire crew of the Cygnus, spoiler alert, are the corpses of the former crew that have been
he reanimated them,
cyborgized by Dr. Reinhardt. They are doing his bidding. They have these strange little mirror-like face masks, and it's a big reveal at the end. Maximilian, Disney, kills Anthony Perkins with his little rotors, cuts right through a book and kills him, which I get it. That's pretty shocking for a Disney flick to see. And then, of course, as Joey alluded to, we have the final question. Do robots go to heaven?
Do androids dream of electric sheep?
So we all enter into the black hole at the end of the film. Dr. Reinhardt ends up inside Maximilian's body in what we are to assume is hell.
Yeah, it looks like
and
hell.
Then the crew of the Palomino go through
They're escorted through
a cathedral tunnel by an angel, and we are to assume by the end of the film are back approaching Earth, maybe, or heaven. We don't know. So we have an ambiguous ending to a science fiction movie, which, as I said in my review, I ain't got no problem with that as an adult. I like a head scratcher. I'm cool with that. But as a kid, don't throw that shit at me.
Right.
I need a nice, pretty bow. I need to have the medals put on Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia and Chewbacca and everybody.
Chewbacca didn't get one.
I know.
Stop it.
He should have. But I need that kind of closure as a child, in a Disney feature. And this is why I wanted to do this whole episode, is because we had this ambiguous ending with a big, giant sticker from Disney. And the two just don't reconcile.
This explains a lot, because when I was a kid watching this, I very much would have been in a very Southern Baptist mindset.
Right.
I would have been like 6-7 years old. And it would have made sense to me in that context. Flash forward, 40 some odd years, whenever I watched it later, 30 some odd years probably, And I didn't remember exactly what happened at the ending, although I had like an impression of it, and it just hit totally different. And I remember thinking, this is the same thing that happened when I watched Lost.
Oh.
Because the entire 6 seasons of Lost, we would get together with a group of friends and watch it, and every night I would go, y'all, I swear to God, if they get to the end of it and it's fucking some kind of afterlife bullshit, I'm going to throw shit. And
what did you throw?
I threw Todd, I think. But yeah, so I had kind of the same reaction when I watched this film too. It just hit totally different, and I wish I had let this one just lie in my memory. I really do.
Yeah, that's so funny that you and I have converse experiences with it. I enjoy it as an adult. It has like a 48% Rotten Tomatoes, give or take. So I kind of like it. I can see how it could be a ton better. I definitely agree, though, that it's not appropriate for a Disney feature film.
We got some fun facts. First one, I didn't write this down, but I remembered. Jennifer O'Neill was originally supposed to play the female lead that went to Yvette Minogue. And Jennifer O'Neill, you would know from Scanners, but they told her she would have to cut her hair short. This was because it was supposed to be, the entire movie was supposed to be in a weightless environment, and she would need short hair for that.
Hair floating
right.
around, yeah.
And she was reluctant, but she eventually caved and went to get her hair cut by her personal stylist, Vidal Sassoon. And during the haircut, she got drunk on wine and got in a car wreck afterwards and lost the part, which is why it went to Yvette Minogue.
Wow.
Also, as we mentioned, the film was originally supposed to take place in a completely weightless environment. The technical difficulties prompted a rewrite. You think?
Yeah.
A half-ass rewrite.
I will say, though, that the weightless scenes that they did do looked really good.
Yeah. So that when the Palomino ties up to the Cygnus, gravity returned. The film and Star Trek the Motion Picture of 1979, released 13 days prior, were among the last Hollywood films to include an overture, once a common feature of major studio releases.
Absolutely. And what's crazy about the Black Holes overture is it's done over a black screen. And you're thinking, is there something wrong with my stream? What's going on?
It's
and then
usually
the credits
cut
hit.
from television broadcasts, though it is included in showings on Turner Classic Movies and on the DVD releases. And then finally, John Hughes created the green grid sequence that appears in the opening titles. It was the longest computer graphics sequence ever to appear in a film at that time.
Wow. Thanks for those fun facts. Those are actually things I did not know. And very cool. All right, there we go. Weird Disney, folks. If you have not seen any of these, please check them out and also look at some of the other ones in the list.
What are some of the ones we
bag.
didn't do?
We're talking about Return to Oz. We didn't talk about
Never Cry Wolf.
The Devil and Max Devlin, where
With Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby playing the
Yeah.
devil.
Prescient.
Did not age well.
Or did it?
Did it?
We
Yeah.
talked about the Berlin Wall movie about the balloon people. That falls into this category
okay.
as well, which we covered in the Berlin Wall
Black Cauldron.
episode. The Black Cauldron, of course, I think is kind of like the back end, bookend.
Popeye.
Popeye, yes, we've
Yeah.
talked about with the other films in a previous episode as well. That's another strange one. It's a collaboration with another studio, which I think some of these other films fall into that same category.
And it's like they were kind of trying to take the heat off of themselves. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, if we do it with, if it's a collab, it's cool.
Yeah, somebody else gets the blame.
Right.
Eesh. It's a really interesting period of time that I don't know if we'll ever see it again, or maybe we'll look back and see kind of like the death of the Marvel movies, and maybe Disney's going to fall into kind of... Heck, Disney just had their lowest grossing Pixar film,
Yeah.
recently.
What was it?
Elio.
Elio.
Yeah. And you were also talking about how when Disney bought these properties, like Star Wars, became much more prolific. They're squeezing out every drop. That's also the fear that people have with the James Bond franchise, because Amazon is now in full control of that
Oh, God, are we going to
franchise.
get a streaming James Bond series?
Probably.
Ugh.
Probably.
Gross.
Right now, they're looking at Tom Holland as the next James Bond, which I cannot fucking see.
I can't get behind that.
I'm still waiting for Idris.
It's not going to happen, unfortunately.
I know.
He's aged out.
that's it. Weird Disney. Hope you enjoyed it. Please check them out. And our next episode, I think we're going to do a watch party. We will talk about that later. Allie, thank you for joining us and being our special female gaze addition to the episode.
Thank you. I'll come back if I'm allowed.
Yeah.
You are allowed anytime.
Please rate, review, subscribe. Check us out on social media. We're Cinema Chop Shop everywhere except for YouTube and Blue Sky. We're Cinema Chop Shop Podcast there. Please love your neighbor, love your friends,
Tell
love
your
your
friends you
family.
love them.
Tell them that you love them because who knows? It might be your last day on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, please remember to
Watch,
Chop,
Retrofit. Don't forget a hot dog on the 16th for National Hot Dog Day.
Thanks for dating the episode.